I would be believed. People are so gullible. So gullible. And in this day and age, equally, if somebody says something, they expect us to believe it. How weird is that? Well, how fallen, how wicked is that? Oh, I've spoken it, therefore it must be true. Pardon? Where's your evidence for this? So if I were to go out and say, yeah, I saw a four-headed man the other day, they go, oh, oh, really? Oh, I bet that's upset. And you're thinking, well, what the heck? You know, same in these days, you could say anything and people believe you. In these satanic days, with the satanic mills and the pits, eh? And up the chimneys and the mudlarks, children treated like chattels, dreadful. Women treated the same. And men were no different. Slaves to a dark, dismal, depraved, unsanitized system where money was the god. Industry to create new wealth was the god. It didn't matter about persons, it didn't matter about the areas. If you polluted an area, it didn't matter. All that mattered was money, 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 money. The Opium Wars created by the British government was all about money. All about money. Trade without morals and ethics. All about money. And this was in a day and age when neo-evangelicalism stood up and said there was thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands saved. Look at the degradation of the times. Awful. You just cannot get away from the awfulness of the times. There were those little glimmers of light which were good, as that adulterer Charles Dickens once said. Some wicked people say some good things, precise things. There were the best of times and the worst of times. Oh, dreadful, dreadful. They were bad enough in the Middle Ages, but the 1800s, when all this lot began to rise up, the Joseph Smiths, to be there to encourage people to come to them. Because these beggars had no work, they were unfit for work. The Joseph Smiths, the Mary Morse Baker Eddies, the Edward Irvings of the time, John Nelson Darby's, the Moody's, the Finneys, they were unfit for work. These were the corrupt people in religion of the time, taking advantage upon people who's in distress, total distress, mental disorder. And this all because the devil was let loose for a season. And even more. In Christianity, in that day, Joseph Smith's day, was attacked left, right and centre. It was humongous. Blackguards came in and said, oh, I believe in Calvinism, election. And he stood in the pulpit and ripped Christianity to pieces. Ripped it to pieces. And all the famous names now that come out of neo-evangelicalism that are worshipped, the Spurgeons, the Tozers, etc., worshipped as gods. Destroyed everything that had gone before. They destroyed it. These blackguards got in and said they were electionists. They didn't dare say they were Arminians, because Arminianism began and was with Romanism. So they couldn't have got into the pulpits if they declared their true colours. Or no sooner had they got into their pulpits than they started declaring free will. Free will. Do you know something? If we tell the truth today, we're called enemies. We're enemies. We're enemies to pseudo-Protestantism. Whilst they're standing outside their cinemas protesting about this, that and the other, they're condemning us for telling the truth. They have no just weight and no just balance in their lives. They cannot weigh one thing with another. And it's what's known as being mature. A mature person balances, weighs things up, gets a level balance. Anyhow, we're getting carried away with this. Joseph Smith Jr., at the age of 14, did an Evan Davis. He saw God. Evan Davis, the Welsh revivalist. Aye, he saw God, and God spoke to him. Well, about 4 months, didn't it, Evan Davis? Anyhow, Joseph Smith was speaking to God. And God told him that he would be at the head of the revival of the church. Doesn't it all sound so familiar? Eh? And God told him, and Jesus Christ told him, and the angels of God told him, surrounded this wonderful man called Joseph Smith Jr. Surrounded him. And spoke to him. So kindly and so informative, told him that none of the churches had the truth. And that they had work for him. Oh yeah, you, Joseph Smith, we have work for you. Eh? That they had work for him to do. Tell me something. Come on, tell me something. Did Jan Hus have this? Did Wycliffe have this? Did Calvin have this? Did Luther have this? Any of the Reformers or Puritans have this? This meeting with God, face to face, and Jesus Christ, face to face, and the angels of heaven, innumerable company of angels. Overwhelming. Did they? Did those burning at the stake have this? Those pushed over cliffs, thousands. Slaughtered and murdered by the Antichrist, the Imperial Roman Church, with popery. Oh no, but Joseph Smith did, and others did, you see. Oh, that's our ticket, you see, to draw people in. The gullible. Oh, that man's seen God. Oh, he's had an entrance and an audience with God and Jesus Christ and the angels. Oh, the worshipping of angels. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Let's follow him. Oh, hang on a minute. The chap down the road is saying the same. Oh, and Ellen White. Oh, have you had something of that, dear? I don't know. But the gullible will go along. Lambs to the slaughter. Anyhow, one day, okay, there came an angel named Moroni and showed him where a book was buried in a box. And the book, of course, consisted of golden tablets. There's gold in them there hills. Near his home. Oh, near his home. Apparently he saw this whilst he was in a barn. Okay. Now, the angel Moroni, he came and he and he visited this Joseph Smith Jr. Alright. Once a year for 4 years. set his watch by it. Alright, for 4 years. And of course in the last year he told him where these books were, these golden tablets, in this mountain, in this box. And of course he gave him some nice golden glasses, spectacles, so that he could interpret the tablets. And equally to be able to do so, okay, these tablets, these plates, okay, to translate them into the English, alright, he applied Urim and Thummim. No, not the next door neighbours. Oh, it could have been. Urim and Thummim could have been the next door neighbours. Or his pals down the road at the drinking house, at the saloon. Eh? I mean, come on, it's nonsense, isn't it? Nonsense from the beginning to the end. It's all heresy. And of course blasphemy, because unless one was equal with God, you cannot see God. And that was the devil's contention in the first place. Ye shall be as gods, he said to those parents, our first parents. He used the plural because he was talking to both people. If he was talking to a singular person, Eve or Adam, he would have said, you shall be as God, knowing good and evil. Equal with God, same substance as God, on the same level as God. And that's what Joseph Smith would have to have been in order to have spoken to God face to face, to be equal with God. Now then, he set to work, did Joseph Smith Jr., to translate the tablets of gold, alright? No, they didn't come from Boots the chemist. Alright. Tablets of gold. And he entitled his work after and in line with Moroni, the angel Moroni, and he called it the Book of Mormon. More like the Book of Moron, from Planet Moron. The Book of Mormon. And in 1830, it was published. It was published. Now, there was an awful lot in these days, along with Joseph Smith, of publications of books, of works, of men's origin. Well, the ultimate origin is from the pit, okay? But unholy men were inspired of the devil's men to put these works together. Now we got the Book of Mormon, all right? We've got Mary Morse Baker Eddy with her Book of Christian Science. Okay. We've got Edward Irving, and he translated the Spanish book that now forms millennialist teaching. He got hold of the work of another Satanist, Emmanuel Lacunza, who was of the Antichrist, the Church of Rome. He claimed that his work, his translation of Lacunza's work, was not actually Lacunza's work, but his own work, that he was inspired by God to write it. But it's Lacunza's work. Joseph Smith, wherever he got this from, somebody else's work that was in touch with hell, or himself, of course, was in touch with hell, that kingdom of hell that he was in. Oh, let's get this straight. We're in the kingdom of God. The opposite is the kingdom of hell. that hell of hell that shall go down into the hell of hells at the last day. Hell shall be cast into hell. Alright? Now, all wickedness comes from out of hell, out of the pit, out of that kingdom. Alright? Which we were once in, and we were translated by an act of God from the kingdom of the devil into the kingdom of God. Alright? Now, as we say, Edward Irving, Mary Morse Baker Eddy, even the likes have just come to mind there of John Nelson Darby and his literal translation of the Bible. Okay? Which he said it wasn't going to replace the Bible. That was a subtle thing, wasn't it? His intention was for that literal, and it is now come to pass, that literal Bible that he created has replaced the King James Bible. Okay? Anyhow, let's continue on with this blackguard. Okay? He created the Book of Mormon that tells the truth, apparently. Is an aid to telling the truth along with the 1611 King James Authorized. Now, he could not have done away with the King James, the 1611 King James Authorized, okay, the Cambridge version that we have. Because that would immediately have disaffected people. They would not have come to Joseph Smith. Okay. So he had to keep that. Just as the persons in pulpits were saying, I'm a Calvinist, predestination, and they weren't. It was a massive con. It was a massive con done on a massive industrial scale by these blackguards. Okay. In the book, for instance, it tells of two peoples who lived in North and South America hundreds of years ago. The Nephites and the Lamanites. Now, I know something about the Lamanites because I've got it in the kitchen. It's for the worktop, Lamanites. Anyhow, as well as a story of those who left off building the Tower of Babel, who came to America, and they were called the Janites. Janites, okay? Now then, being that this is the second book inspired from heaven, okay, by an angel, Moroni, telling the truth, we haven't got a settled canon of scripture according to these people. You know, I mean, they're a joke. They're an absolute joke. And you can laugh in their faces. Yeah, it's just an absolute joke. You know. Get right with the Lord. Stop going into these fairy stories. Alright? Speaks of the Janites who left off the building of the Tower of Babel. Now you see how, again, erroneous that is. Because the Tower of Babel was complete. Oh, you say it wasn't? I've seen pictures of it. Have you now? Kodak? Oh no, illustrations from the Bible. Is it really? It's not an illustration from the Bible, my dear boy. You go to the scriptures and read the scriptures for yourself. And it declares that they left off the city, not the tower. The Tower of Babel was the first thing that they created. Then they began on the city. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to ask you to look it up. And I'm not here to spoon feed everybody. Look it up. Concentrate on the words. They left off building the city. The first principle of man in himself is to get an idol of something. Of himself. Or of others. Of babies. Of money. Anything. Man is an idolatrous being. And the first thing that Babel, or those people would build in the plains of Shinar, not on a mountain, but in the plains of Shinar, was their temple to their God of their creating. That's what they focused on. Everything else was secondary. They'd live in tents, they'd live in anything. The first principle was the temple. They got together in a meeting, thrashed it out. What kind of temple we're going to build? What's the design of the temple? What's the size of the temple? What's going to be in this temple? And they'll be thrashing it out over the table between themselves. And then they start on it. They build the temple. And then they build the city around the temple. The temple is the main focus. That comes first. Okay, that's why the